He came to the town to disappear. A quiet place with crooked streets and a sky that always felt like it was on the verge of tears. It was the kind of place where memories softened, where silence grew roots, and no one asked why a man preferred solitude over conversation. Arif was a writer once. Till was maybe. His name had once been on the cover of a best-selling book. But fame didn't do what he thought it would. Didn't save his relationship, didn't stop her from leaving. In the end, it was just him and the words. And now, even the words were growing tired of him. He rented an old cottage at the edge of town. Ivy-covered, slightly crooked, but full of character. A dusty typewriter waited in the corner of the room. He didn't touch it. Not yet. Days passed like melted wax. He walked through the misty streets, drank strong coffee at the lonely cafe with fogged-up windows, and stared too long at blank pages. Then came the rain. It was the kind that whispered secrets to the earth, soft, steady, and somehow warm. That night, Arif was returning from a walk, collar turned up, hands buried in his coat, head full of nothing in particular, until he saw her. She was dancing. Not the careful kind of dancing people do when they know they're being watched, but wild, barefoot, free. Her red coat clung to her as the rain soaked it through. Her hair was long, dark, dripping. Her face turned toward the sky like it was a lover she missed. Arif stopped walking. The street was empty except for them. Not a single light in the houses around. No sound except the rain and the echo of her bare feet on wet stone. She spun once, arms open, and for a second the world slowed down. Then she saw him. And smiled. Not a polite smile. Not a stranger's smile. It was soft. Intimate. Like she knew him. Like she had waited for him. Arif opened his mouth to say something, anything, but the words melted on his tongue. And just like that she turned and walked away. Not rushed. Not hiding. Just fading into the curve of the street until she was gone. He ran forward, but by the time he reached the bend, there was no one there. No footprints. No red coat. Just the sound of rain and a whisper of perfume in the air, something like roses and old paper. That night, he didn't sleep. Not really. He drifted in and out of dreams that didn't feel like dreams. He was in the rain again. She was there. Her coat was open, clinging to her skin. She reached for him. Touched his chest. Leaned in close. "I waited," she whispered. Then her lips were on his and her body pressed against his. It was warm, too warm. Her breath tasted like secrets. He woke up gasping. His hands were trembling. The sheets were damp. Not with sweat. With rainwater. Impossible. He sat up. His heart was racing like he had just lived through something too big to name. For a moment, he stared at the door. It was shut. Locked. The windows, too. And yet, the smell of roses still lingered in the room. Arif got up, walked to his typewriter, and sat down. His fingers hesitated, then began to move. He wrote. She danced in the rain like it remembered her. She smiled at me like I had been hers in another life. She was red. And I followed. When he looked back at the words, he realized. He had written them with both hands, eyes closed. That scared him. But more than fear, there was something else. Hunger. For her. For answers. For the strange, beautiful feeling she left in her wake. The next day, he searched the streets for her. He asked the cafe owner if he had seen a girl in a red coat. The old man blinked and said, "Which one?" Arif leaned in. "The one dancing barefoot in the rain last night." The man's face changed. Eyes narrowed. "No one dances here, son. Not in the rain. Not since." "Since what?" Arif asked. But the man just shook his head and walked away. He spent hours walking. The same street. The same corner. Nothing. No red. No girl. Just the echo of the memory, her smile, her dance, her warmth. That night, he dreamed again. This time, she was sitting by his window, legs tucked beneath her. Her coat was gone. She wore a white dress, damp at the edges. Her fingers ran along the spines of his books. She looked up when he entered the room. "I was wondering when you'd start writing again," she said, voice like soft thunder. He approached her slowly. "Who are you?" "You already know," she replied. He touched her face. It was warm, alive. But when he blinked, she vanished, only to appear behind him. She kissed his neck. Her fingers slid down his chest. "Don't follow me again," she whispered. "Unless you're ready to lose something you love." He turned to face her but woke up instead. This time he wasn't alone. On the pillow beside him was a single red thread. Wet. Scented with roses. He didn't know her name, but her eyes followed him into sleep. And now he wasn't sure he wanted to wake up. Arv thought maybe he had imagined her. Maybe the rain, the grief, the silence of the new town had finally taken their toll. He had written about her, dreamed of her, felt her breath in his sleep, but still a part of him clung to logic. That part didn't last long, because then he started seeing her. Everywhere. Began with glimpses. The flash of a red coat vanishing behind a corner. A shadow in the cafe window. A figure waiting at the crosswalk, only to disappear when he blinked. Every time he chased her, she vanished. Once he saw her reflection in a mirror inside the bookstore, standing behind him, eyes filled with longing, but when he turned, only his own reflection stared back. It was maddening. Beautifully maddening. One morning, he opened the front door and found something hanging from the gate. A ribbon. Red. Silk. Tied in a perfect bow, fluttering gently in the breeze. His heart skipped. He reached out and touched it, soft as a breath. Warm. Like it had just been in someone's hair. He didn't know why, but he brought it inside, set it on his writing desk, and just stared at it. Then he sat down and began to write. She leaves pieces of herself for me, like a trail made of heartbeat and silk. Each time I find her, I lose myself more. When he looked up from the typewriter, she was outside his window, standing still, watching him. Same red coat, same bare feet. But this time there was something different in her eyes, something like sorrow. He stood up quickly and ran to the door. But by the time he stepped out, she was gone. Only the scent of rain and roses remained. Arv began to test it. He would write about her, just a few lines, a few thoughts, and every time without fail she would appear. Not fully, not clearly, but always there. A flicker in the mirror, a whisper in the hallway, the creak of the floorboards when he was alone. It was like she existed only in his words, or maybe because of them. One evening, unable to resist, he wrote, "I want to see you. I want to know you. Not just your red coat, not just your eyes, but the parts of you you've hidden from the world." That night, she came closer than ever before. She appeared in the hallway, candlelight flickering against her skin. Her coat open, her dress clinging like mist. He stepped toward her. She didn't move. The distance between them shrank, second by second, breath by breath. He reached out to touch her, fingertips trembling. But before they met, she whispered, "Not yet," and stepped backward, right through the wall. Gone. The next morning, he woke with dirt under his nails and roses on his doorstep. Black roses. He hadn't left the house. At least, not that he remembered. Later that day, during another walk through the edge of town, something caught his eye, a gate behind the church. Rusted. Half broken. Overgrown with thorns and ivy. Tied to it, another red ribbon. This one was longer, torn at the end. He followed it. The gate creaked open with a scream. Beyond it was a forgotten path, choked with roots and wildflowers. He walked carefully, heart hammering every step deeper into the unknown. path opened into a garden, or what once was one. Statues crumbled in silence. Stone benches cracked under time. But what remained were the roses, hundreds of them, wild and untamed. And in the center of it all her. She was kneeling, head bowed, fingers brushing the petals of a white rose blooming from the dark earth. Arif stepped closer slowly. She didn't turn. But she spoke. "You shouldn't have come." Her voice was softer than the wind. "I followed the ribbon," he said. "That's the problem," she replied, rising to her feet. "You followed too well." She turned then, and he saw her eyes. They were full of longing. And something else. Fear. "I had to see you," he said. "I had to know if you were real." "I was," she whispered. "Once." Arif moved to her. This time she didn't back away. He touched her hand. Warm. Alive. Trembling. Their fingers locked. The roses around them seemed to lean closer. "Who are you?" he asked. She looked up at him. "Someone you've already written. Someone you haven't finished yet." And then she leaned forward, lips brushing against his ear. "If you follow me again," she whispered, "you'll never come back the same." He blinked. And she was gone. No footsteps. No movement. Just the red ribbon, wrapped tightly around his wrist like it had always been there. His breath caught. The garden was silent again. But he wasn't. Inside him, something had shifted. She had said if. Not don't. And that made all the difference. The ribbon never left his wrist. Days passed in a strange haze, full of shadows that moved on their own, clocks that ticked slower than usual, and the scent of roses that clung to everything he touched. The more Arif tried to write anything but her, the more the words refused him. So he stopped resisting. He wrote only of her. Of the way her red coat looked in the rain. Of the way her eyes held entire centuries. Of the way his soul felt different, like something had bloomed and withered all at once. One evening, while searching for candles in the attic, he found a wooden box tucked behind rotting suitcases and spiderwebs. It was old, wrapped in faded silk, tied shut with a brittle red thread. His heart skipped. He opened it carefully. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all handwritten in delicate ink, the paper yellowed by time, the edges curling like petals. He picked one and unfolded it. "My beloved, the war takes more from me than time. Every night I wear your shirt and dance barefoot beneath the stars, pretending you're watching me. The roses are blooming again, just like the ones you planted. Come home before they die. Come home before I forget the sound of your voice. Yours in love, in madness. L." His hands trembled. He read another. And another. Each one written to a man who never wrote back. A soldier. A lover. Someone torn from her arms by war. Someone who promised to return but never did. The final letter ended in ink blotches and a shaky line. "If I can't have you in life, I will wait for you in every life that comes after." The handwriting was hers. Exactly hers. Arif knew it. The loops in the ls. The way she curled her commas. It wasn't just similar, it was hers. But these letters were dated over 70 years ago. He sat on the attic floor for a long time, the letters spread around him like petals from a rose he couldn't hold. That night, under candlelight, he wrote her a reply. He didn't think too hard. He didn't plan it like a story. He just let his heart speak. To the girl who still waits. "I don't know your name, but I know your soul. I see you in the rain. I feel you in dreams. You are the whisper behind my words, the echo in every room. If time forgot us once, I won't let it do it again. If love never died, then come find me tonight. I will be waiting. Hey." He folded the letter, tied it with the red ribbon from his wrist, and walked back to the rose garden. He placed the letter beneath the white rose where she once knelt and whispered, "Please." Then he returned home. That night, the wind was warm and thick with jasmine and something older. Time felt different. The walls of the cottage hummed softly, as if breathing. He lay in bed, eyes open, waiting. And then he felt it. A dip on the mattress. A warmth near his side. The sheets shifting like they were alive. When he turned, she was there. Not a dream. Not a vision. But not fully real either. She glowed faintly, a soft, moonlit shimmer wrapped in a white dress. Her hair spilled like ink across the pillow. Her body pressed close to his, skin warm, breath slow and steady. Her eyes met his. No words. No questions. Just presence. He didn't reach out immediately. He just looked at her. She looked back, like she had been looking for him in every lifetime. Then, gently, he raised his hand and brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. Her lips parted. Not in speech, in breath. She leaned in. Her forehead touched his. Their breaths mingled. And then they simply felt. No urgency. No fear. Just the quiet worship of being seen. Being known. Being found. His fingers slid along the curve of her back, memorizing her again. Her lips brushed his, not as a kiss but as a question. And when he answered, it was not with words but with the way he held her. Slowly. Carefully. Entirely. Time melted. He traced poems across her skin. She buried her face in his neck like she had been waiting centuries to be home. They moved together, not like strangers or even lovers, but like souls remembering themselves. There was no past. No death. No war. No grave. Just them. Now. When morning came, the bed was empty. But the pillow beside him was still warm. And on the sheet where she had lain, a single rose petal rested, glowing faintly as if it had bloomed in another world. He picked it up and held it to his heart. She hadn't spoken a word. But somehow she had said everything. It began with candlelight. The soft flicker of flame dancing on walls. Shadows moving like whispers. Silence holding its breath. Arv didn't know if she would return. He had stopped asking. Stopped chasing. Stopped writing. He simply waited. And sometimes when the heart is still enough, the universe moves. That night she came without warning. No knock. No cold wind. No mirror tricks or echoing footsteps. She just appeared, standing in the middle of his room, barefoot, hair loose, wearing a red silk dress that clung to her like moonlight. The same girl. But different. He didn't speak. Neither did she. Their eyes met. And in that gaze they shared every question, every answer, every ache. Arv stepped forward. She stepped closer. When their fingers touched, the candles seemed to burn brighter. He took her hand. Led her to the bed. No urgency. No hunger. Just reverence. As if she were sacred. As if she might vanish with a single wrong move. He undressed her like he was unwrapping a secret written in stardust. She let him, eyes never leaving his. He kissed her collarbone. She traced her thumb over his lips. He pulled her in. And time shattered. There were no words. Only breath. Only movement. Their bodies moved slowly, deliberately, not in lust but in memory. Like they had done this before. In another life. In a field beneath stars. In a burning house. On a train station platform during war. Every kiss felt like a promise. Every touch a confession. She held his face with both hands when he entered her, and it wasn't just physical. It was like he was stepping into a story that had been waiting to be finished. Her breath hitched. His eyes closed. Candlelight wrapped around them like a blanket. Their bodies rose and fell like tides, steady, tender, eternal. She pressed her lips to his chest. He buried his face in her neck. They moved until they weren't two people anymore, but one prayer whispered in the dark. Time didn't pass. Curled around them like a sleeping cat, purring, silent, full of old magic. When it was over, she lay with him, her head on his chest, fingers tracing invisible lines on his skin. The room was quiet. The world still. He thought maybe she'd stay like this forever. But as the sky began to blush with dawn, he felt her trembling. And then he heard it, soft sobs muffled against his skin. He lifted her face. Tears glistened down her cheeks like broken starlight. "Don't cry," he whispered. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." But she shook her head. "This," she said, voice cracking, "this wasn't supposed to happen." "What do you mean?" "I wasn't supposed to feel this." "Not again." Her hand moved to his chest, where his heart beat strong and steady beneath her palm. "You changed something," she whispered. "You broke the line. You called me back." "I don't care," he said. "Stay. Please. We can figure it out. Whatever this is. Whatever rules there are." She kissed him. Desperate. Final. And then she vanished. Right in his arms. No sound. No light. Just gone. The bedsheet still held her warmth. Candles still flickered. The room still smelled like roses and skin and memories. But she was nowhere. Arv sat up, breath shallow, chest tight, heart screaming. He pulled the sheets close. Closed his eyes. And that's when he felt it. Pain. Not sharp but deep. Like something had been burned into him from the inside out. He stood, walked slowly to the mirror across the room and opened his shirt. On his chest, over his heart, was a scar. New. Fresh. Slightly raised. Shaped exactly like a rose. Not a tattoo. Not a dream. A scar. As if her touch had branded him. As if her love had bloomed into his skin. He touched it gently, and for a moment he swore he felt her breath again. Felt her arms around him. Heard her voice, soft and far away. "I'll find you again. One day. One life." And then silence. But Arv knew now. What they had wasn't fantasy. It wasn't madness. It was memory. Rewritten. Reawakened. And he would wait again. No matter how long. Because love like that doesn't end. It only sleeps. Until it's called back by a whisper, a red ribbon, or the soft flicker of candlelight in the dark. The scar never faded. Days passed, but the mark on Arv's chest remained, soft, rose-shaped, pulsing faintly when he touched it. Like a wound made of memory. He couldn't write anymore. Not about anything else. Only her. Her smile. Her breath. The way she held him. The way she vanished. The way the bed still felt like it remembered her weight. He searched every book, every online forum, every crumbling newspaper in the town library, but there was nothing about her. Nothing solid. Nothing real. Until he stumbled upon an old woman at the cemetery. She was lighting incense by a broken stone angel, her hands wrinkled but steady, her eyes sharper than anyone his age. Arv, desperate, asked, "Do you know a girl in red?" The woman didn't blink. "You've seen her," she said. He nodded. She sighed. "Then you're already too far in." Arv followed her to a moss-covered grave tucked in a forgotten corner of the cemetery. The stone was cracked, the name almost erased. But the inscription remained. Lolita. Beloved. Lost. 1922 to 1954. She danced in the rain. She waited too long. He dropped to his knees. Lolita. He ran his fingers over the carved letters. Cold. Silent. "Locals call her the Red Whisper," the woman said softly. "Some say she waits for a man who never returned from war. Some say she made a pact with the river to bring him back. Others, they say she cursed herself. that love turned her into something that lingers. Arav didn't speak. His throat burned. Men who see her, she continued, never stay the same. Some vanish. Some forget themselves. Others lose their minds, chasing a love that's already gone. Why, he asked, his voice shaking. Why does she come back? Longing, the woman whispered. It's stronger than death. That night, she returned. Not gently. Not glowing. Furious. She appeared in the middle of his room, soaked from unseen rain, eyes burning, hair tangled, the red dress darker than before. You found it, she hissed. You shouldn't have. I had to know who you were. I'm not her anymore. I haven't been in a long time. But you feel, he said. I felt you. She turned away. You weren't supposed to love me back, she whispered. Her voice cracked. You were supposed to write. Remember. Touch, then forget. That's how this has always worked. He stepped toward her gently. Then why did you stay that night? She didn't answer. I didn't just imagine that. You cried in my arms. You think I wanted to? Her voice broke. You think I meant for any of this to happen again? He touched her cheek, and she didn't pull away. I'm not like the others, he said. She looked at him, eyes full of terror and something deeper. You already are, she whispered. You just don't know it yet. He swallowed hard. What happens to them? She stepped back. They follow me too far. They think they can save me, or stay with me, or love me back. And then they lose themselves. Lose how? She didn't answer. She just reached forward and placed her palm over the rose-shaped scar on his chest. Flared with heat. Not pain, memory. Every second with her rushed back into his head like fire. You've already started to fade, she said. Your soul's tied to mine now. The longer we do this, the less human you become. He shook his head. That doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to. I don't care. You should. I love you. She went still. Completely still. And then, slowly, she whispered, I love you too. A pause. I always have. In every life. In every story. Tears welled in her eyes again. But love like ours doesn't end in forever. It ends in suffering. Every time. He stepped closer. I don't care. You will, she said. When the hunger starts. When the writing stops making sense. When you look in the mirror and don't know your own name. He cupped her face, forehead against hers. Then teach me how to love you without losing myself. She closed her eyes. And for one long, shattering moment, the room felt like a place outside of time, where ghosts loved and men wept and roses bloomed on scars. The days stopped making sense. Morning came like a blur, night like a fever. Arav didn't know when he last ate. His notebooks lay untouched, the ink inside them drying like old blood. His fingers ached, not from writing, but from not writing, as if they missed the ghost of her skin. He stopped walking through town. The streets felt empty, even when they weren't. Everyone looked like strangers. Except her. She came more often now. Not always visible, not always touchable. Sometimes she was just the scent of rain. Sometimes the flicker of red through a mirror. Sometimes her breath against his ear as he slept. But every time he felt her. And every time he slipped a little further from the world he knew. One morning, or maybe it was night, he found her sitting by the window. Pale. Still. Like a painting waiting to be noticed. Lolita, he whispered. She didn't look at him. You have to choose, she said softly. Choose what? Your life or mine? She turned to face him. And in her eyes he saw something terrifying. Hope. I can't hold you here anymore, she said. You're already fading. He looked at his hands. They did look paler. Veins more visible. His skin thinner, almost translucent. You stopped eating. Stopped moving. Stopped dreaming. You're in between now. Neither here nor gone. He didn't argue. He couldn't. You said love brought me here, he said. It did. But it won't save you. She walked toward him, every step soundless, her red dress flowing like smoke. You have two paths. Her hand rose, trembling slightly, and touched his temple. And suddenly, he wasn't in his room anymore. He was standing barefoot on a porch, wind blowing gently, a child laughing in the garden, a dog barking in the distance. She was there, older, softer, wearing a cotton sari and a tired smile. She turned toward him with a look so full of love it nearly broke him. He saw dinners by candlelight, books read together under a blanket, making love in the attic during a thunderstorm. He saw years, decades, wrinkles and lullabies, arguments and forgiveness. He saw her dancing in the kitchen, their daughter painting the walls. He saw their son reading her poems before bed. He saw sickness, grief, but always, always, he saw her beside him. Until one day he was alone in the garden, and everything was quiet. The vision faded. They were back in his dim room, candles trembling on the table. He stared at her, breathless. That was us, he whispered. A version, she said. If you choose me, if you stay in the between. Was it real? No, she said. But it could feel real. Until the end. The end. Every man who chooses me lives that vision. But they don't truly live. Their bodies remain here, hollow, dreaming, until their soul burns out, or if swallowed hard. And the other choice? You wake up. You forget me. You move on. You write books. Meet people. Grow old. You live. But without you. She nodded, biting her lip. And you. I go back to the whisper, she said. Back to the wind. The rain. The echo. Arv felt like his chest would tear open. How can I choose, he asked. How can I live without you? You already did. Once. Long ago. Maybe that's why we met again. He stepped closer. She was trembling now. More real than ever. Or maybe he was just less human now. Closer to her world. What do you want me to choose? He asked. I want you to live, she said. But I want you to choose me. She laughed bitterly. See the problem? Tears welled up in his eyes. She reached out, cradled his face. And for one last time they held each other. No words. Just skin on skin, soul on soul. As they embraced, something shifted, time, gravity, maybe the universe itself. The room glowed gold for a second. The world softened. And in that moment, everything felt possible. He leaned in. Her lips touched his. And then, in a breath that tasted like forever, he whispered, I choose. The town was quiet the morning they came. No one had seen Arv in weeks. His mail had piled at the gate, yellowing under the sun. The flowers in the garden wilted, even the roses that once bloomed defiantly through frost. When the landlord finally unlocked the door, there was no sign of struggle. No blood. No broken glass. No suitcase missing. Just absence. The bed was neatly made. Typewriter on his desk sat untouched except for one line centered on the page, clean, perfectly typed, ink still fresh. She was love. She was death. And I followed her. They found red ribbons tied to the gate. 7 of them. 1 for each week he'd lived there. They said maybe he went mad. Maybe he ran off. Maybe the heartbreak was too much, and he vanished into the mountains like some romantic cliché. But the old woman at the cemetery, the one who lit incense by broken stones, said nothing. She just smiled quietly when she heard the news. The house remained empty for a year. Then, someone new arrived. Her name was Riva, an artist looking for solitude, hoping to find beauty in decay. She painted by the window where the light hit just right, unaware that someone once stared at a ghost in that very spot. But on her first night, as she unpacked, she found a crimson thread caught on the doorknob. She followed it, gently tugging down the hallway, out the back door, through the old, overgrown rose garden. It ended at the grave. Lolita. Beloved. Lost. She danced in the rain. She waited too long. Riva didn't know who she was. But she left a small painting at the base of the stone anyway, a red silhouette dancing in moonlight. 2 days later, someone in town swore they saw a girl in a red coat near the river. Not just a girl. A man, too. Walking beside her. He wore an old coat and carried nothing but a notebook under his arm. They said they looked peaceful. Familiar. Like lovers returning from a war only they remembered. Some say it was just mist playing tricks. Others say the girl in red finally stopped waiting. Because this time someone chose her. Completely. Willingly. And never looked back. Final note. They say true love haunts you. But sometimes saves you.